So we come to Earth basically to evolve and learn lessons in a layman's terms. So do we come is a number one objective to learn how to love yourself? So you do spend a lot of time shedding what you've been taught when you're young to open up to more of the world, or is that
Griffin just took a victory lap.
okay?
That's what I call it. When he stands up and he does that like football touchdown looking thing.
Right, right.
And he says the answer is yes.
Wow, okay. Okay. Is the hardest thing in life to love yourself, Griffin? As far as an emotional challenge?
He says, I don't know, you tell me. He goes, I
Yeah.
think some people who are on earth that have incarnated say, no, that's the most natural thing ever.
Mm,
I am my number one, and it's not out of ego.
mm.
And I love myself, and I can love others. And he goes, and then the other experience is, man, the moment I put myself first, I feel like shit. And I feel like I'm a bitch and I'm pushing people over and I'm not being courteous or kind and I'm seeing myself through other people's eyes and they're calling me all these names and I'm shook, shooken to the core. Did I say it right?
Yeah,
Or
shaken to the core. So
shaken.
shaken or shooken to the core. Does semantics? Does Griffin think that? Does Griffin know, or does he not know? Are we all born? Are you born? Do you come out of your mother loving yourself, and it's your environment that makes you change any of that opinion, and have to form a love for yourself? Do you come out as a natural loving yourself wholly, or you come out more innocent than that? Like, do we wreck our kids and then they have to learn to love themselves again? That's kind of a two-part question. It's not really a fair question
Okay.
for you because yes, we
Um,
wreck our kids, but yeah.
um, do we know self-love when we're born? Yes.
Okay.
Are there agreements or memories from other lives that are not in alignment with self-love? Yes. So we don't come in completely polished, absolutely clean. There's some bruises and some dents, but mm, we say that again because that was really cool. But the way that we see the world is through the lens of self-love, and then we're taught out of it. Bit by bit, we're trained out of it. We're shown that somebody else is smarter and that somebody else is going to take care of you and somebody else is going to prep that for you and somebody else is going to tell you what to do. So you're just gently stripped, like peeling a banana, your rights, your ownership to yourself and your experience, and you become a passenger to somebody else's life experience.
Mhm.
And then when you're strong enough, you have to figure out that you're actually not a passenger, you're the driver, and that's when the switch happens. Most people can't make that switch.
Okay, so now I'm gonna go very basic and pedestrian. Um, so Jamie has her first yoga teaching or whatever yoga order it is today, and her husband calls and needs her for something that she rates at a 50% importance. Does she not do her yoga and go do what her husband asks? Or is self-love mean she goes and does her yoga? Or can self-love mean that you go and do what the husband asks and you have to cancel your yoga for today?
Griffin says, well, if I know Jamie, she's going to continue to do yoga. He goes,
Are you saying she's a
50%
bit?
level?
Are you saying she has a little bit of bitch in her, Griff?
Oh, I love it. He says, well, you're asking how to meet everybody's needs. And if you're getting your needs met and somebody else is what you might call in need or suffering, which is in a state of needs not met,
Okay.
then you have been taught that you must surrender yourself to assist the other because that is a definition of love.
Okay, so it's different if we're using Jamie's analogy. Sorry, Jamie, just throwing you all over the place. So it's Jamie has yoga today scheduled at a certain time, and her husband calls, or someone else calls and says he's in an ambulance. That's totally different. Now, if he calls and says, "Oh my God, I forgot to drop off the kids' lunch, and it could be figured out a different way," instead of him leaving what he's doing, or her leaving her yoga, is that taking care of herself? do you know what I mean? That is that still loving herself? If she can get it done another way, like if she kept dropping her yoga every week for her husband's little wishes, you know what I mean? Of course, that's not self-love, but it's still self-love if she cancels her yoga to go if he's in an ambulance. That's totally different, right?
Yeah, Griffin says, because then you're looking at priorities.
Right.
You
Because it
know, if
seems
it's,
common sense what I'm saying, but
Mhm.
I'm not knowing how to really pose my question. So I'm
Yeah,
struggling a little bit. Yeah.
no, he says, I think you're doing a really good job, Mom.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Because you're trying to see where the scale is. Where does it outweigh? And then you say, whew, the thing that I've set for myself, self first, self love, self care,
Right.
when does that get jeopardized? What's something that comes in that's greater? And he says it's going to be on an individual basis because maybe it's the love or care for a parent where they need assistance or help.
Right.
And maybe even the parent needs assistance or help, but you've already laid a boundary. So
Right.
by you staying back, you're actually protecting, your healthy environment because the relationship wasn't healthy and you're not going to be pulled back in. So he said you get to know yourself and where your priorities are. And when something is important enough to you, you do not allow other things to consume it and take that time away from you.
Okay, because now I'll throw myself under the bus. I suffer depression, grieving, PTSD, anything that a mother that loses a child suffers. So I have really great days and great weeks, and I can string now weeks together. We're 7 years in, not to minimize it, Griffin, by any stretch. I'll never be the same. I'm just saying um, I can participate in life and walk the dog and do the normal things. You're never far from my mind. Uh, do I wish for God to take me all the time? Yeah, a lot. If I didn't have Dylan. But my point is, um, when someone reaches out to me and they're depressed, and I used to reach out and help even when I was barely breathing myself, and now I don't anymore. I've let it go. And it was really painful because I got challenged by this recently, and I didn't respond. And I felt cold blooded not responding, but I wasn't in a good space myself. And the next day I felt okay, like I made the right decision. Was I wrong or was I right?
No, he says we're looking at that specific moment for you.
Yeah,
That was the best decision you could have made for yourself. And he said sometimes, Mama, there were times where you weren't feeling good and somebody else was not feeling good.
right,
But the act of helping them, you were teaching and showing how to take care of yourself because you couldn't do it for you,
right,
but you could for someone else.
right.
And then building that relationship, that connection showed you, okay, this is what I can do for me.
hmm
This
So
is
I was
how I
talking
want
to
to be
myself.
treated.
I was talking to
Yes.
myself. Yeah,
So even in the act of helping someone, you were training. And now when the moment comes when you know you're not in the greatest of places and somebody is asking for it, you're like, I know how to do that now, but I don't need to because that would then be giving away my energy that I'm just barely holding on to. So I need to preserve. And by preserving means to step down, step back, which is not a negative. It's not seen as bitchy, inconsiderate, cold blooded. It is an act of perseverance that you need so that you're healthy and okay.
okay.
He says the thing where gets really fucked up, excuse that,
It's okay.
is when the other person decides that your actions, what you just chose, you putting yourself first, was detrimental to their livelihood and cause. And then they begin to use that external action that you did because it wasn't for them to decide. They were asking. And whenever you're asking, the answer can be no. Nope,
Right,
don't want you. Don't want to do it. Don't want to give. Can't give. Nope, nope, no. And he goes, we have to be ready to hold that. And
right,
if the answer is no, and then you decide, okay, I'm going to take your no, and now I'm going to blame you for all the shit that I just went through. He
right,
goes, guess what? That is your own fault. That is your
right,
own doing. That is your own fault. That is not that person who chose to step back, you know, to
right.
claim private time, downtime.
Right, because sometimes we're in survival mode too, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and to give this person credit in case they watch this, um, I was impressed. I wasn't attacked, and I was uh given my space, and wasn't hounded, and also was continued to respond to things that I post by them in a positive way. So I knew we were still okay. So
That's
that was really
wonderful.
cool because I saw the growth too. You know what I mean? Like the growth in myself and the growth in this person. So because
Nice.
it didn't always go down like that. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, because it used to be Griffey, I would um I would think for some reason I got a kick out of helping people, and it was probably part of my growing even before you died, like way before you died. And I would spin myself short by helping everybody, and then I'd freak out and look like the biggest bitch and not know why. And it was because I didn't have any boundaries and I was exhausted. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I was exhausted, and it's like in your life, you have to love yourself because if you go back, and those are Jamie's things ringing. What are those called? Because everybody asks in the comments.
There are these chimes
Okay, I love
that
it.
I got. They're supposed to be solar powered, but I didn't enjoy them because they went off all the time. So I broke them on purpose
Okay, I like
because they're
it.
beautiful. But now they chime at night. They chime on and off during the day. It's just trippy. So I call them my spirit chimes.
Yeah,
He was
totally.
showing me this image of you, like
Being a bitch.
in in the water,
Uh,
and somebody over here is like, help, help, I need, a floating device. You're like, come here, come here, come here, you can hang on to my arm. I'm a great swimmer. No, 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 come in. This person can hang on the back, this person can hang on this person can rest on your head, this person in the front, and then all of a sudden you're under the water and you're thrashing around and you're telling everybody, get the fuck off of me, you
that's
guys.
that's me.
The image in my head is hysterical. And then everybody's like, oh my God, what's wrong with her? And then you get to the surface and you're like, all of you can just fuck off. You
Yeah,
go
I look
away.
crazy. I look crazy because there's no baby steps to it. Yeah.
Crash and burn. He's saying you crash and you burn.
Yeah, because I'll give and I'll give and I give, and I don't have any boundaries. And then someone else wants to take, and they weren't even the person that the anger's towards.
I
And they'll be like, holy hell, I didn't know you were such a bitch. You know what I mean?
know. Griffin says, I'm really proud of you. This is not what you do
Yeah.
anymore. You actually, he said it's really wild. You slow down and you look and you say, is that worth my investment? Do I have enough to invest in that, even if I get nothing in return? He says, because I really think where we're growing on the earth, humanity, he was, I don't know, just people, that when we're out there and we want to invest in a relationship or invest into a company financially, anything investment, we need to really expect nothing in return, to really just to give with no strings and no attachments,
Mhm.
because then what's coming back at you, he says, I think it's more of a reward. So we can get into that shit later.
Yeah.
Rather than having that expectation of now what you're owed because you invested.
Right. 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 Um, I feel excited too because I feel like, and this will speak to other people, that I've grown in a way that I'm finally able to say something that I feel and not care what anybody thinks. And that was a hard place to get to. And I'm not always there 100% of the time, but I visit that place a lot. And I'm excited about that because no matter what I look like or um, what anybody thinks about what I'm talking about, or if they haven't experienced it or they totally are in disagreement, I'm not afraid now to stand my ground of what I feel. And I'm open to listening to other people too. It's not that. It's just that I used to feel like, oh, will they like me if I say that, and they're gonna think I'm so weird, and now it's kind of like I love myself enough that if you don't like me, then I'm okay with that now. And it took me this many years to get there. Like,
Beautiful.
right? Right. And that's a hard place to get because when you're a people pleaser, woof,
Mm.
yeah.